keynote with David Palmer. David, come onto the stage, please, from Pairpoint by Vodafone. And your keynote ties in brilliantly, or segues brilliantly after the last presentation, the role of Web3 and Fintech in the emerging AI economy. David, I'll leave it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm David Palmer from Pairpoint by Vodafone. We're part of, we've come out of Vodafone, and we've been doing a lot of work on Web3 and more recently AI. Hands up if you've heard about AI. ChatGPT. Hands up if you use it. Actively using it, okay. Before I go into this, I always like to sort of give some context about what's happening in the world. You know, the macro view, right? And I think if you look at it, population's increasing, right? So we're expecting 8.5 billion people by 2025. I've got some colleagues over here from Pairpoint. Hands up if you're from Pairpoint by Vodafone. We've got our CFO here who's been crunching the money as well. So hi, Siva. Nice to see it. From a mobile phone company, one of the biggest success stories, I remember being in university, one of the biggest success stories has been mobile phones. I remember buying my first mobile phone in the 1990s, and then it was like 1% of the population. Now we've got 90% penetration and 8 billion mobile phones. I've also worked in IoT, and another success story is that we have maybe 25 billion IoT devices, and by 2030 we're expecting to have north of 30 billion IoT devices. So people are being connected, devices are being connected, machines are being connected. Internet users, again, another big story, 7.5 billion connections. And this one gets me digital wallets, right? So digital wallets, currently over 4 billion digital wallets. By 2035, we're expecting to have 5.6 billion digital wallets, right? So a huge penetration. And in terms of AI users, the jury's out, right? Because all we hear as we turn our newspapers on, as we turn the news on, as we go on social media, is about AI, the investment in AI, the use of AI. But in terms of the people using AI, what we have at the moment is what we call an intelligent web browser, right? Based on public information. And the number of users of AI will be dependent on the use cases, right? And we'll go into the sort of investment in AI versus the return and the dependency on use cases to really break that a bit later. And in terms of Web3, so Web3, we talk about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Good time to talk about it. We're in all-time highs last week, but we're expecting maybe 1 million users, right? But then again, part of, as we move forward, will depend on how all of these things come together. Another thing is how big is the size of this opportunity, right? So if we look at Web3, Fintech, and AI, we're expecting that the Web3 market will be sort of north of 2 billion. The Fintech market, 1.1 trillion, sorry. And we're expecting that the AI market could be anywhere from 5 trillion to over 15 trillion, right? And part of the question we're saying is, look, the opportunity size across all of these three things, Web3, Fintech, and AI, is north of 18 trillion US dollars, right? There's overlap between them, and I believe that will be the key to unlocking this. Web3 will depend on the success of AI and vice versa, and Fintech will be the financing and payments across all of them. But if we look at the hyperscaler spending on AI, 400 billion in 2025. What you can see is that the revenues are only 300 billion. So despite hearing about OpenAI and NVIDIA and the bottom line is that the investment is more than the return. And there's a lot of alarms being sounded now about, okay, when will the returns be more than the investment? Because there's a heavy CapEx spend on AI at the moment. And is the investment and the growth going to be sustainable, which is being powered by the investment going forward? So few more headlines. So if you look at the AI market, we've already covered 15.7 trillion. Web3, anybody know what the market cap of the cryptocurrency market is at the moment? All right, so hands up if you think it's 3 trillion. Hands up if you think it's more than 3 trillion. Okay, yeah, so I checked this morning, so it may have gone up or down, but this morning it was 4.5 trillion. And I remember giving talks a year ago, and it was 2.5 trillion. And we're expecting by 2030 it could be anywhere from 7 trillion, right, if some of the forecasts are to be realized. And the other thing is autonomous systems, right? So as we move into the world of AI, it's not just digital AI, right? It's also physical AI. So Optimus robots from Tesla, we're expecting that there's going to be a number of those going forwards. We've got autonomous cars, autonomous drones, autonomous systems, and that's a 4 trillion market. All right, so if we look at all of this in the context of fintech, we're expecting the fintech market to be 1.5 billion in 2025. We're expecting that the fintech market where services are delivered through AI agents to be 4.5 billion. And in terms of delivered through mobile, 500 billion. So at the moment, the forecasts are still indicating that, and I don't know where this sort of fits into the investment versus return, but we're still forecasting that more services will be delivered through mobile applications rather than AI agent applications in 2030. So some of the headlines. Hands up if you heard about the 300 million jobs being lost by 2030. Yeah, so one of the biggest headlines. Hands up if you heard about the 1.3 billion AI robots to be produced or in operation by 2035. Okay, not so popular. And then you've got autonomous vehicles, etc. I mean, the key thing is that, you know, the headlines are grabbing us all the time. And the question we need to ask is, how will AI impact markets, right, and our industries, and who will be in that, the winners and the losers? So let's just go into AI, right? So what is AI? It's technology that enables us, that takes data and then applies intelligence. If you look at generative AI, you look at ChatGPT, you look at Grok, you look at all of the applications, which I'll list later. What you'll find is that it's all about that, right? AI doesn't work without data, right? How many people trust the data that's on the internet? Okay. And that is the data that's essentially being used to power AI. So, you know, part of the issue with AI is about data. Good data in, good outputs, right? No data, no AI. And we're at this point of artificial, narrow intelligence at the moment. That is where you have machine learning, large language models, small language models. And that is where we are, the very first step. Of course, the race now is on for artificial general intelligence. That's where machines have awareness. And then, you know, whether this can happen or not, the third phase is where machines have consciousness. And if you look at where we are with general intelligence, as I said, machine learning, you've got large language models, which are behind ChatGPT and the Groks and Llamas. And you look at the main applications. So you've got ChatGPT, Google Gemini, you've got Doubao from China, Microsoft Copilot, which is used in a lot of our desktop Microsoft 360 applications, DeepSeek, which we all heard about in China, which is another sort of version of ChatGPT. But as I said before, these applications are intelligent web browsers, right? They are, you know, basically allowing us to browse content on the internet more intelligently. Meaning that before, what you would have to do is, you know, basically do a search and pull all the outputs together and then find some reasoning. This can pull all of the different outputs together and reason it for you and give you an output. So that's where we are at the moment. But if we look at what the AI economy is, you can see that, as I said before, the key to the AI economy is data, right? We're expecting a US 1 trillion market by 2030 for data. And at the moment, all of that data is coming from the top, right? It's coming from people. And what we're trying to look at for 300 million jobs to be lost, or the opportunity for massive growth in the market, however you want to look at it, whether it's jobs lost, growth, it's all a balance, you know, because there's a lot of talk that where jobs are lost, others will be created. But if we're looking at the growth side, then absolutely key to that is going to be business data. And that business data is going to come from either business applications, so ERP systems, or it's going to come from IoT devices. And that's a 1 trillion market. The other big thing is data centers, right? How many of you have heard about AI data centers being built on the news? Yeah, massive thing, right? We had Grayscale, OpenAI, NVIDIA over with the American state visit a couple of weeks ago. And it was all about 500 billion being invested in data centers. If you look at the forecast, so McKinsey forecast that by 2035, or by 2030, you'd have 7 trillion invested, and that will go up by 2035. So the infrastructure for AI is big, big, big business. Also AI models, right? 3 trillion value is the value of the top 3 generative AI companies by 2030, or the forecast for it. And then, of course, you've got NVIDIA. Right? I was looking at some of my slides from 2 years ago, and Apple was the top company. Right? Now it's NVIDIA by far, right? Worth $4.5 trillion in market cap. So the business of AI is based on data, it's based on infrastructure, it's based on AI models and applications, and it's also based on the hardware that goes in it. And if you look at the sort of applications you're getting, as you've got largely mobile applications at the moment, so where you prompt and you're getting returns on your web browser. We're starting to see some limited business applications, and then a lot of the talk is about AI agents and agentic AI, and how services will be delivered from that, and the physical AI, where essentially you'll have services and processes and things executed through robots, which will essentially do that in retail and work environments. So I'm trying to get to now the relationship between IoT, Web3, and AI, which is driving this. And again, you've got this relationship where on one side, you've got IoT devices, right? So IoT devices, 30 billion by 2030, will produce data, right? Cars produce data, my wearable produces data, drones produce data, sensors produce data. If you're looking at 30 billion devices, the amount of data produced is fuel for the next iteration of business AI. And part of the fintech opportunity is how that data is monetized through the transport to AI models. It's like fuel, right? So AI models need fuel. The fuel for AI models is data. And that data is coming from IoT devices. And that's a massive financing, and that's a massive monetization opportunity. And on the other side, you've got the opportunity where the data that's consumed by the AI models, be it in large language models, machine learning models, small language models, is coming back in the form of services. Services that are powering those business applications that we saw earlier, services that are coming to the mobile phone, and services through agents which will come direct to the device, right? And that's all what I would call the fintech opportunity. And if you look at the role of blockchain, it can provide trust, it can provide digital identity, interoperability, immutability of the data, and also tokens and currency which can help with the monetization. If we look at this sort of 15 trillion opportunity, just putting some stats on it, 50% of early adopters in AI are exceeding business goals. Companies that prioritize AI investment have a 35% higher chance of outpacing competitors' revenue growth. Generative AI, as we were saying, the intelligent web browser is being leveraged by 65% of early adopters, and 58% are planning to use it more. 65% of organizations, I'll repeat that, 65% of organizations are using AI or planning to use it. And 44% of people using AI are reducing their operational costs. So that's why business is interested in AI. And then if we look at the sort of agentic AI, how many people have heard about agentic commerce? Yeah, so that's the new buzzword of the last month, right? So it's essentially AI agents, shopping on behalf of their users for online shopping, experiences. So it's the next big thing, and it can be online. There can be a mirror of online where you buy something online, you can pick it up in store, or vice versa, and the agents proactively on the certain rules will act on your behalf. And essentially, we've seen that the new thing is that ChatGPT, which is the leading generative AI application, has now put a buy button on it. So you can search for something, ChatGPT, please locate the cheapest pair of Levi jeans in my postcode. And when it finds it, we'll have a buy button. Well, this is actually there, right? Where you can say, okay, I want to buy it. So you're seeing that you're moving from AI applications which are all about information to AI applications which are about financing and payments, right? Which is the next step. And we used to call it super applications, embedded finance, but now it's part of the AI economy, right? It's AI payments. And you can see that these agents, when you look at IoT, where I come from, are going to be massive, right? Because part of the challenge we've always had with IoT is that you need to have, with normal applications, someone with a mobile phone. So if you're going to do EV charging or buy parking or whatever, you're always competing against the mobile application. But actually, where you have autonomous systems, which we mentioned earlier, there is no driver. When you have a robot, there is nobody with a mobile phone. So how do you deliver and engage in services? It's going to be through AI agents. So this is a massive growth area. And to my Pairpoint colleagues over there, I'm not used to having, I won't call them support, but having colleagues in there. Part of what we're about is how you bridge that, how you bridge machines to AI agents. And if you look at this, part of it is a SIM card, right? All of these agents, all of the physical robots, all the autonomous systems need to be connected. Some of them, depending on the use cases and what they're doing, will need low latency connectivity, which needs to be really fast. And part of the challenge, if you look at the deep fakes that are happening, AI can generate videos that look very realistic, is how do you authenticate it? How do I know that your agent, which is buying something from my online store, is really you? How can I authenticate that, right? What's the security? And how can you come up with a new system that meets the pace of the investment in AI and the returns expected that's going to do that? So part of what I've been looking at is things like phone number identity, where we already have authentication using the phone number, and how that could essentially be used so that you can delegate your number to a machine or agent on your behalf, and then use that phone number as an identity authentication for payment. So that's some of the things we're looking at, as well as signing data, signing metadata, and also using hardware in some of the connectivity we have to power wallets. Some of the use cases so you're looking at is a business who has a number of vehicles. They essentially assign their phone number ID to the vehicles in their fleet, and the agentic AI agent can buy, using that phone number ID as the ID and the authentication mechanism, it can buy charging or fuel on behalf of the fleet automatically, especially if you've got these new Tesla or Waymo vehicles which sort of drive around autonomously, right? So as you look at car ownership in the future, we'll all own one of those, right? We'll drop ourselves to the station. The car will drive us to the station, then it will go out and basically earn money providing ride-hailing services on our behalf. So in this case, we could give the phone number, and the phone number could be used to authenticate. And the same thing with mobile phones, where you have an agent, for example, which is looking to find the cheapest flight or the cheapest train ticket on your behalf. How's it going to do that? You give it your phone number can be used to authenticate that agent is linked to you and it's real, and it can buy on your behalf. So these are just some of the things we're looking at. And really what we're doing is creating a new digital infrastructure for a new digital world, right? And this is what's required by AI finance. That's a connectivity infrastructure. It's data and compute infrastructure. The presentation before was talking about data centers, but that's also connectivity. It's also how you authenticate and secure those agents. These are all the infrastructure that's needed as you go forward. Finance and ownership infrastructures, and also Web3 and AI infrastructures in themselves. And something we've been looking at as well is sometimes the infrastructures overlap. So you're looking at these data centers, can infrastructure like towers become data centers, right? They're already there. So these are some of the things and the challenges which we're trying to meet. We mentioned earlier about the 5.6, in fact, I'm over time, 5.6 billion wallets. That will be a key to how agents will transact. And also, one of the other statements I make is about how's AI going to interact with us, right? So AI needs a body. It needs to have an interaction mechanism, and that could be the metaverse or immersive technologies like AR, VR, mixed reality. And if you look at some of the features of the metaverse, and as I've put here, is the metaverse relevant again? And I'm going to do a plug. I wrote a book on the metaverse called The Business of the Metaverse, so you can look that up online. But one of the things you're looking at is the immersive experiences, right? So will virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality essentially become AI on Earth, right? So as the AI economy grows, right, and as you need more immersive ways of interacting with AI shops and AI assistants and AI support, is the metaverse and the environments for that and the immersive environments for that going to be key? This just talks about the possibility in the AI economy of reducing the cost of things. So this is an example of a Harvard education. And essentially, when I analyze this, what happens when you apply metaverse, which reduces geography, and AI, which can replace teachers, you essentially can have infinite supply at virtually zero marginal cost, right? So the impact of this could be to lower the cost and increase the supply of things like education as you go forwards. Just want to touch a bit on blockchain. So as we said, it's a good time to talk about blockchain. Sometimes when the market's bad, nobody listens to you. When the market's good, everybody listens to you in a big company. This is a good time, right? All-time highs. The cryptocurrency market cap is 4.5 trillion. 156 billion loaded in DeFi. 80% increase in Bitcoin from September 24 to 25. 67% increase in Ethereum. 289 billion stable coins on chain. 70% of them on the Ethereum protocol. 60% tokenized stocks on chain, but low margins. It's hundreds of millions. And 31 billion in real-world assets on chain, and we forecast that this will be 600 billion by 2030. So some of the questions are around Bitcoin and its role in the AI economy as a treasury. There's a lot of talk about Bitcoin as a strategic reserve and a treasury. How does that fit with the AI economy? The rise of stablecoins. Will stablecoins be the medium of exchange in the AI economy between AI agents, where you have you expect maybe high volumes of transactions at low marginal costs? And if you look at tokenizations and tokenized deposits, is that going to be key to basically bridging AI to the Web3 economy? Just in terms of tokenized deposits, I'm going to rush because I'm over time. There's a lot of talk about tokenized deposits, and that this could be key to linking bank accounts to tokens. But there's also a lot of stuff in terms of stable coins, central bank digital currencies, and how you can essentially get macroeconomic policy into the Web3 economy. I think it's absolutely critical for AI because as you move forward to AI, it's going to be about how you transact, how you get investment, how you can embed payments, and all of this will need a system that works end to end. Right? At the moment, we've only got part of it, which is the cryptocurrencies and the tokens, but we don't have the macroeconomic link, we don't have the money supply links, and that's what will come. And I'll probably just skip to this slide here, which is just talking about our relevance, right? So part of what we're about at Pairpoint is how we can get devices online or on-chain, how we can essentially link data from those devices to AI models, and then how we can effectively allow devices, machines, to then embed AI in their services or receive AI in their services and pay for them. A few years ago, we came up with this diagram, which was an economy of things, right? It was about many devices talking to each other, interoperably transacting with each other. The devices have connected SIM cards, they have wallets, they have AI now. But really, now the vision is, and when you look at this, it's about how these devices, which produce trillions of bytes of data, will be the next fuel for the AI economy. Thank you.
Any questions at all before David has to depart? A quick question. Can we have a microphone over here? We'll just get a microphone to you, sir, so the guys watching online can hear the question.
Thanks. So a lot of what was in there, the connected economy, the technology's changed slightly, but it was the same sort of thing that was being spoken about 10 years ago. Yes, there's more devices connected to the Internet of Things, but I don't really see the payments world having emerged in the way that it was set to emerge 10 years ago. What are the learnings we can take from the first iteration of this and apply that to agentic AI to try and make it more of a success this time around?
Really good question. So as we saw on the slide, despite all of the hype about agentic AI and AI agents, we're still expecting 500 billion of the payments to be delivered through mobile applications, and a very small 4 billion to be through AI agents, right? So I think the first thing is you've got to be patient. The transition to these new ways of payments and finance take time. And I think 10 years ago when we expected embedded finance in IoT and machines, we weren't ready, right? We didn't have the technology to embed it. We didn't have the automation of business logic to do it, and nobody was prepared to use it, right? They were still in mobile. I think now, when you look at the size of the prize associated with winning in AI, it's so big that I think you're going to have more drivers for that transition. And if you look at the agentic AI services, I mean, they're not ready at the moment. They're not ready because the business data is not there, right? So it's going to take 5 to 10 years. So we say 2035 tending to be where it will take off. And I think the learnings are have a proper transformation project. Be pragmatic about what's needed for success, or the critical success factors. In this case, it's data, business data being part of it. And it's also about the investment, right? I think the one difference that we have between the sort of economy of things, or the IoT payments and the AI payments, is the massive amount of investment that's going into AI. And that will drive the adoption, in my view.